if you want to peel back the layers of Congress and how the American people gets the football pulled out in front of them, like Lucy taking the football from Charlie Brown, you need to look at how the sausage is made. Every bill after it comes out of its committee, before it goes to the floor of the House, goes through the Rules Committee. And we make new rules every week. Every week we make a new set of rules that we think will make stuff work that week better than last week. And mostly it's suspending our own rules. We say, well, you can't make a motion to make us read the bill. No, we're going to suspend that motion. And so we suspend like 100 different motions, but we also decide which amendments can be allowed on a bill.
It reminds me of when you play made-up games with small children,
yes.
and they just change the rules every 5 seconds.
Yes.
That's the Rules Committee?
Yes, that's the Rules Committee. Every week, we make a different rule for every bill.
But when you don't get the result you want, they're like, no, we changed the rules. This isn't how it's supposed to go.
And when the first thing they tell freshmen when you get there, if you're in the majority, is they say, never vote against the rule vote. There's 2 votes on every bill. There's the vote on the rules for the bill, and then there's the vote on the bill. And they tell freshmen, never vote against the rule. This is the speaker doing his will, setting up the conditions of debate and all the good process stuff, and it has nothing to do with policy. But then what they do is they snooker these members of Congress because they put policy in the rules.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's something, the most evil form of this that I've found that exists in the Rules Committee is a self-executing amendment. Okay, you want to know what a self-executing amendment is?
Of course, with that title.
It's an amendment that passes itself.
Oh, how nice.
It's like
self-checkout.
Yes.
Just doesn't matter.
So let's say a bill comes out of committee and the chairman didn't want to deal with something and the bill's going to come to the floor and nobody wants to, but the bill needs changed in some way, but the people don't want to vote on changing the bill. So they sneak a self-executing amendment in the Rules Committee on the bill so that when you vote for this rules resolution that you've been trained since your freshman orientation is just a procedural vote, you are actually voting for a rule that automatically passes an amendment and could change the whole nature of the bill.
That sounds unethical.
I would think so because there's no way in hell the American public can follow that vote. Everybody can go home and say, I didn't vote for that. Mm-hmm. I voted for some procedural thing.
Plausible deniability.
But the American people would not even think to blame them for that happening. Most members of Congress don't know about self-executing amendments.
Like, is there one example you can?
So glad we all know the rules to this game.
Like, is there a specific one you can think of off the top of your head that's been recent? A self-executing amendment?
Okay, so they did 2 in this Congress, and then I finally said, you're not doing any more, because I'm on the Rules Committee. And I said, I will never again allow you to do this. And they could override me, but when I blow the whistle and then go try and explain what a so there are 2 examples they did. One was on E-Verify. I got screwed on E-Verify with the self-executing amendment. The bill, H.R. 2, had E-Verify in it, and these ag congressmen were upset, and so they didn't want E-Verify, but they got bought off by this idea of self-executing amendment, and nobody got their hands dirty. Oh, we don't know how E-Verify only doesn't apply to ag anymore. This just, the bill magically somehow did that on its own. And then the other was an ethanol thing. We were rolling back a bunch of Biden tax credits or energy things, a bunch of Green New Deal stuff, okay? But what it turns out, that it was going to affect ethanol in some of these states like Iowa. And so they couldn't get the bill passed, but they also did not want Republicans voting for ethanol handouts on the floor of the House. But they didn't have enough votes to pass this bill with the thing that punished ethanol or took out the ethanol subsidies. So they made a self-executing amendment to fix it magically, and nobody, I'm telling you, I'm like one of 12 people who understands that that's how that got done.
So you said they train you about this when you're a freshman. Who is that? Who is they, though? Who's training you on this? Like, why don't most congressmen know about this? That seems like a very flawed logic if it's used that commonly. Or it's good design.
The whole point is, well, I mean, no, it's designed that way. Why would they?
You just have to know.
You just, after getting screwed Hit the top button again one more time.
I did.
Okay. Well,
It said that it was the year 2106.
Welcome to the future, Tim.
You got a special edition.
You made it.
Yeah.
You've got to put your own Wi-Fi in there.
I did.
Oh.
Yeah. And then
Okay. Let's see if it gets it right this time. He's
it
playing.
says internet time. Is that normal?
Yep.
63 trillion.
The internet has its own
We'll
time.
figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Oh, it's doing.
It's because I noticed that mine was a trillion behind yours, so I updated the Wi-Fi.
Right.
But now it's wrong.
Because that's been in the box for like 6 months, and the rate has gone up more. So it needs to also get the
So
rate.
the Democrats are really good at being evil, right? Like they lie about stuff all the time while accusing the Republicans of lying about stuff. The Democrats are organized. They march in lockstep with each other. I think the January 6th committee is a really good example of like the malice. Jamie Raskin, for instance, included a video of me reading a news article rather dryly as I do, and acting as though I was encouraging people to go to January 6th. There were people on video, and this guy's 20 minutes from here, Raskin. We get people who work here who are like, he's their rep. And so he plays the video. He's like, here's people encouraging January 6th. And there's some guy saying like, it's going to be a red wedding, storm the gates or whatever. And then it's me going, Fox News reports, Donald Trump says there's going to be a rally. Then it cuts to someone else, cuts to me. And I'm like, now I've had people say like, oh, I saw the thing where you were included. It's been good. I would actually say I had a friend hit me up I hadn't talked to in 10 years say, I saw you on the news. It was kind of weird because it was all these people calling for January 6th, but then it was like you reading news or something. And I'm like, yeah, it was kind of weird. Why would they do that? But outside of that, you've got, Adam Schiff publishing the private phone records of an American journalist. You've got him lying about proof of Russiagate. I mean, they just lie all the time for political power, and the Republicans do nothing. And maybe it's because there's no such thing as a Republican Party. There's the Democratic Party, which is a cult of evil people marching in lockstep, and then the Republicans, which is various factions and disparate groups of people with varying degrees of corruption amongst them.
I would like to see us have a January 6th committee.
How about a May 29th committee? This is what I don't get. Maybe it's because I grew up in, like a Democrat in Chicago among Democrats and activists and organizers, and I worked for nonprofits. The first thing I'd have done when they announced January 6th, I'd say, yes, we would also have the May 29th insurrection committee, when thousands of far-left extremists firebombed the White House, St. John's Church, injuring 100-plus federal officers, forcing the president into a bunker, disrupting official proceedings. So you do January 6th, we'll do May 29th. Instead, nobody even knows what May 29th is. I've had Republicans come in here in Congress, and I asked them, why nothing on May 29th? And they go, what's that? And I'm like, now, why do you know about January 6th, but not when the president was forced into an emergency bunker as the White House grounds were firebombed? They literally threw firebombs at the White House grounds. St. John's Church across the street was set on fire. A guard post at the White House was set on fire.
Here's what both of those events, those dates have in common. Without question, the government was involved, was inciting in both of those instances.
Yeah, and many others.
This is incredibly frustrating to hear, right? Like, we're sitting here, we've got a congressman who's been there for over a decade in Congress, right? So it's not like he doesn't understand how Congress works or what's going on. He's generally considered one of the most constitutionally sound Congress people, and he's literally telling us that we have lost control of our government.
Wait, is that true?
Which part?
That we've literally lost control. The people have lost control of the government?
The feedback is not working, right? For control to work, there has to be a feedback loop. And in that sense, yes, the feedback loop is broken.
Because
there's either not enough transparency in what's happening in Washington, D.C. for people to understand how to fix it through the ballot box.
Or I think that's intentional with the Department of Education.
Yes.
Which is something we harp on here all the time.
There's obfuscation. It's like I was saying, the self-executing rule stuff. Like, the best thing that I can do as one person in there is to help provide transparency. So, this summer we forced over 700 votes, like being on the rules committee. Chip Roy and Ralph Norman and I forced over 700 recorded votes this summer.
Which, think about, that means they would not have been recorded votes if it wasn't for the fact that they made us stink. Congress's whole point is to vote on legislation, and they're doing their best to not vote on legislation because then they have to be responsible, or they could be held responsible by their constituents.
Nobody wants to work anymore, Phil. Come on.
Wait. So why can't you just get the vote on the DOE again? Why not? Is it
Department of Education?
Yeah.
Well, I could, but I got 160 votes. Now the voters need to go figure out who are the 60 or 70 Republicans who voted to perpetuate federal control of your child's education.
Can you get? Would you be able to get basically any reasonable bill to a floor vote?
No.
So how do we make but the DOE is something you could be able to get to a vote?
I was able to do that as an amendment to a spending bill.
So couldn't Mike Johnson just bring it up, or has to go through the committee?
Yeah, he could,
but he won't.
Well, it would fail.
Yeah, we need public pressure. That's the way.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.